Hey guys, K420 back at it again. Here to bring you an irritating story, I would say. I don't know about you, but I got kids, and they all may not live with me at the moment, and they all may be at different stages of life in school. But that doesn't mean I don't care, and that doesn't mean that I don't have one right now that's headed into going into her second year, basically, of completely teaching herself. So when I see some of the stuff that I've been seeing on the news, I wonder if people even really know what's going on. Like, I understand that none of us want our kids to get sick, and none of us want our kids' teachers to get sick. But do you really understand the facts behind coronavirus and susceptibility of children getting it, the susceptibility, how often children say it passed it to say, I don't know, a teacher, and why is the United States the only country really, and I'm going to show you this, that's even considering not putting the children back in school. Let's talk about it. But first, YouTube suppresses this channel because I talk about stuff that, well, YouTube doesn't want me to talk about. And so, although they finally did monetize me, I have yet to be paid anything because I am not suitable for ads. Yeah, you see the Cash App, hit it up. I'm not going to beg. I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it regardless because I feel like people need to understand the information that's out there. Sometimes they just don't know how to get it. So here I be. A punch in the gut dealing with suicide in a pandemic. Yes, you didn't think we'd be starting here, but we are. And that's because and this is about a month ago this came out, but this is not the only article for sure. I actually did a video on it. California schools closed in mid-March to prevent the spread of corona. In the first full week of April, Chris Evans, the Sacramento area school district, received a call one evening informing him two high school students had died by suicide in the past 24 hours. One from his district, Thomas Unified, the other from a neighboring district. When something like this happens, it's a punch to the gut. One of my biggest worries I had with the shelter in place order was the social emotional effect it's going to have on so many people. In particular, my job is to worry about students and their parents. And then it goes on to talk about uh, another principal at Bear Creek High School, 50 miles away, received another call from her resource officer notifying one of her students had died by suicide. The mother of the young woman who took her life told local media she believed the social isolation imposed by the lockdown contributed to her daughter's tragic decision. Quote, I honestly don't remember a lot of specific details of the phone call because it was too horrifying to think about, said Harrell. I'm a mother and have worked as an educator for 20 years. This is not the first student I have lost this way. It's just really hard to describe what you feel in these experiences. And it goes on to talk about how this pandemic has presented challenges in preventing in responding to student suicides, which are the second leading cause of death among 10 to 19-year-olds in the US, guys. It's gotten bad. Our kids are now dying way before us, and it was never meant to be that way. And this lockdown, this coronavirus, social distancing, this stay in your house as much as possible and go nowhere, learn everything online life that they're trying to push it's making it worse. It's intensifying it in a way that was never meant to be, like in a pace that was never meant to happen, because this was never foreseen. Well, of course certain people foreseen it. Us as the people thought we were protected from it. So it says, in the stress the pandemic is putting on students in the form of social isolation, family financial instability, or death of loved ones doesn't disappear when classes are out for the summer. So we're going to move on because there's more. Okay? Youth suicides were rising before COVID-19, and now it says, how should we support kids now? I'm not going to go through too much of this because we did really just talk about it. I just wanted you to see that it says nearly 23% of the 1,784 children who responded to this survey reported feeling depressed likely due to the suicide, likely due to the, to the depression or to the pandemic. With psychiatric problems already on the rise for American children, mental health experts weighed in on what interventions and policies might prevent similar trends here. So it says the China study found youth who were less optimistic were more likely to experience symptoms of depression. So I don't know how you're supposed to get a child to be less pessimistic in today's world. How? Because your child learns by watching you. So as a parent, they mimic what they see and hear their parents do. So if they hear their parents constantly worrying about the finances due to the pandemic, constantly worried about the virus itself, whatever it is, those children are going to take on those worries. That's what they do. So if you're not from California, you probably haven't heard this, but I guarantee it's going on in more states than just California. This says some school districts in California, which are all closed, mind you, Gavin Newsom has gone ahead and closed them for the fall as well. There will be no in-person study in the fall. Everything will be virtual already. He's already called it without even knowing, without even having a single case of a student giving it to a teacher or vice versa. Therefore, Newsom is an idiot. He needs to be impeached. Anyway, did you know that some school districts in California are using virus-closed classrooms for daycares? I'm not kidding. Some California school districts have closed classrooms in favor of online instruction for the whole new academic year and are putting those buildings to another use. Daycare. Oh yeah. Are you pissed yet? Because you're going to be. Because there's more. They got a nice chunk of money to do this too. And they get paid twice as much as they do from the federal government just to have the school open. Education officials in the LA suburb of Glendale have started a program that will drop off students at local schools where they can complete their online. This is for students to come there and sit in the school in front of a computer, complete their online lessons in small groups during school hours. The program is for families in need of childcare. Last week, Gavin Newsom set strict rules for this in-school instruction that is contingent on districts and their home counties controlling the virus outbreak, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes on, it says, while most California schools are planning only virtual instruction to start the academic year, some are offering childcare programs that will bring students to the same exact buildings that are off limits for classroom instruction. Not joking. Not joking. Wait. Oh, hold on. I always check these, damn it. What the heck? Where did I go? Where am I? There we go. California allowing kids in the classroom for daycare. Here's what I wanted. Okay. I don't know where the camera is, but we'll just assume that this Daily Beast piece of crap. Oh, it's not the Daily Beast. This is Mercury. All right. Well, most California school districts are planning only virtual instruction. We told you this. In Glendale, education officials opted last week to move online instruction due to the rise of coronavirus cases and hospitalizations. They also started a program for families in need of childcare where students will be dropped off at local schools and placed in small groups. They will complete their online lessons with support from a staff member or substitute teacher during what would be normal hours. Christine Nam, a spokesperson for the 26,000 student school district, said 30% of elementary parents voiced interest in this program. Of course they did. They all need to go back to work. They need their kids to go back to school. And if you're going to pretend that this daycare that you're getting paid twice as much for, and you're getting, hang on, because you're getting a huge chunk of money from the government to sanitize the classrooms, instead instead of just sanitizing the classrooms and opening it up to everyone and bringing all of the teachers back, this is you just shoving bullshit up everybody's ass. Last week, he set strict rules for in-school instruction that is contingent on districts, home counties controlling the outbreak. 85% of the state's population lives in counties that don't currently meet the standards, meaning only 15% of the students in that county, those students live in counties that are at a level 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever level he's setting it at, that allows kids to go to this class. So basically, they are now not just picking winners and losers by basically banning banning the gyms and salons, but allowing Family Dollar that's connected to those gyms and salons to remain open for thousands of people to come in and out of all day. So while the other businesses fail, Family Dollar is able to go because it's essential. Well, guess what? These children, this 15%, are the essential children who will still be able to receive some type of in-classroom, in-person education and right now, since beginning and through the fall, while the rest of the children will be at home with their tablets in their hand, allowing some teacher to teach them for the exact same pay online, which you as a parent have been doing for the last 5 months. I don't think so. The two largest districts in the state, LA and San Diego, are among those that said they will start the academic year with only distance learning. That means no school. It says, why put the children in groups for childcare but not learning? Well, no kidding. That's my question here. Why are they putting these kids in groups and calling it childcare when really it's just school with less kids in a group and less teachers in the school? But they're getting paid twice as much. Don't forget that. And California school child care centers got $100 million to disinfect for coronavirus. Yeah, I bet you they spent $100 million on Lysol and masks and gloves and some plastic maybe. Okay, $100 million for what? Two California counties so far? Okay, and you wonder why they're doing it? Mind you, these daycare centers are K through 12. You can literally drop off. Actually, I believe it's 8, K through 8. I'm not positive. This says K through 12. This says legislature approved an initial $100 million for K through 12 districts and child care centers to cover school cleaning expenses and adopted waivers that will ensure funding for school districts and state-funded child care during the school closures. In the second bill, they approved spending up to $1 billion on emergency medical costs, including leasing 2 hospitals to expand the capacity to respond to the pandemic. It says, Newsom issued an executive order Friday that assured school districts would be funded during closures. You're going to still get your same pay, even though you're not doing your job and you refuse to go back to work, which technically is a breach of the unemployment contract. So any unemployment you might be getting while you're off on furlough should be taken from you if you're a teacher that's on strike, refusing to go back to work. And it says that they waived the state requirement of the 175 instructional days, meaning your children that are in school right now in California will not be required to attend the minimum amount of 175 days of school this year. And they don't have another set of days. It's just kind of going to be we'll see how many days we make it thing. Do you really trust your government to handle all this? So this will be funded during closures, cover a possible drop-off, and it says when school resumes, parents keep children at home who suffer from asthma and other so still, even after all is said and done and children are allowed to come back to school, the most common childhood illness, asthma, is a reason that Governor Newsom has come up with to keep your child out of school some more. Because even when everything is said and done, children with asthma will not be allowed to come back to school due to their possible high risk, as well as other medical issues. It also extends this $100 million also covers purchase of protective gear like masks. The bill expands a period to allow for standardized testing for an additional 45 days, meaning they're going to test all these kids. Wow, this is insane. I can't believe people are not. Anyway, well, let's look at this. First of all, this scientist whose job it is to figure this out says that he's found no significant COVID-19 transmission among children or from students to teachers in primary schools 1 month ago. 1 month ago. Okay? So now all these US schools that we're going to go over are planning on not reopening in the fall. And the virus that has been circulating in community from late January has come up with 0 cases. It says 510 students from 6 primary schools were included in this study. There were 3 probable cases in 3 different schools before the schools closed in February and then locked down. And it says these cases did not give rise to secondary cases among other students or teaching staff. And were also unaffected by the outbreak. Overall, the results of this study are comparable to the studies carried out in other countries, which suggest that children aged between 6 and 11 are generally infected by a family member, family environment, rather than at school. Your child is safer in school than they are at home with you. School gets disinfected multiple times a day by janitors, cleaned up by teachers. There's multiple people making sure your child washes their hands and covers their mouth. You as a parent, you become relaxed to those things. The school is a safer place right now. Science says so. So anyway, as this is all coming out, these influential teachers unions are starting to step up and say, forget that. We're not working. We're going to strike. We will use strikes as a tool to stop schools from opening, just so you're aware. How many teachers are at risk of serious illness if infected with coronavirus? Now, mind you, this is an actual COVID-19 page, coronavirus statistics, like legit. I don't know how many news guards not on. So anyway, let's get to the question and the answer. One of the myriad of issues these officials will face is how to keep school employees safe at work, particularly those who are at increased risk for serious illness if they become infected with corona. The CDC has identified a number of factors that put individuals at increased risk of serious illness if infected, and these include several health conditions. Having diabetes, COPD, heart disease, asthma, having a body mass index of greater than 40, a compromised immune system, which, for example, may occur during cancer treatment, being age 65 or older is also considered to be a risk factor. In a previous study, we reported that 1 in 4 workers were at high risk of severe illness if they were to become infected, while children are at less risk for serious illness than adults and have a mild or no symptoms when infected. The teachers and adult staff at schools face a higher risk. We use a similar approach to look at teachers and other instructors, and we found that 1 in 4 teachers, or 24%, about 1.47 million people, have conditions that put them at high risk for serious illness. So now, mind you, what did I just read to you in the last article? They're going to keep all these kids with asthma and other serious illnesses from coming back to school, right? So why don't they do the same thing with this 1.47 million teachers? It's a very small amount of teachers. So why don't if you're going to keep the children out, there's fair is fair. Sorry, well, apply for disability. I don't understand why we are allowing someone. When did we start to allow the Spanish teacher who has who is getting cancer treatment, in her personal life. When did we start to say, oh, we need to make sure all your children who attend this lady's class have had their flu shot because we don't want her to be at risk of getting, we've never done that. We've never allowed, as parents, put the teacher's health above the children's education and health. Boy, border wall can continue. All right, Texas, we'll start here. Texas will allow schools to keep classrooms closed longer than previously ordered. As of right now, I believe they're going into the fall. So it says the guidance says that districts that limit in-person instruction must provide devices and Wi-Fi hotspots to students who need them. Students who do not have reliable access must be allowed to learn in school every day. And during the second 4 weeks of the state-allowed remote learning, districts must educate at least some students on campus, though they can restrict that number as they see fit. And believe me, Governor Abbott, who's already sold out, he won't be seeing fit to very many, I'm sure. Montgomery County, Maryland, prohibits private schools from starting the school year in person. That's right, I said private, not public. The governor is lit here. Matter of fact, let her tell you.
Of course, we've got you covered when it comes to your child's education during this pandemic. And new tonight, an announcement concerning private schools. It's an order from health officials in Montgomery County, and it says non-public schools are not allowed to hold classes on campus through October 1st. Now, this order covers any school not affiliated with the county public schools, which, as you know, won't go back in person potentially until the end of January once they,
January.
So we'll find out more in just a bit.
These children are going to be like the children of the corn, but they're going to be the children of the COVID. They're going to be so it's going to be so different. I mean, at this point in time, I don't know how most homes have it set up to just continue to homeschool their children and not put them back in a public school environment. Let's talk about my state, the great old state of New York. Let's see what my Captain Sable Cuomo is saying about our schools. New York Governor Cuomo says he won't use kids as guinea pigs. Oh, no? No, he'll just let you have an abortion 5 minutes before you push it out, as long as that's what you decide. And he'll have a big old standing applause and light up the World Trade Center memorial in pink as if you're celebrating some big thing. Anyway, back to I go on a rant about Cuomo all day. Hang on.
When you realize Schwab is the better place for traders. Schwab, own your tomorrow.
There is a state formula that will determine if it is safe to reopen schools, okay? So open schools or not, there's a state formula that determines it. There are then state guidelines as to how that school reopens, right? State formula determines if it reopens. If it reopens, the second question is how, and that will be done by state guidelines. But the question of school opening is like the question of reopening the economy, reopening the schools, reopening the economy. It's the same conversation.
No, it isn't.
And by the way, it's the exact same conversation with the President of the United States. We talked about reopening the economy, and he said, just reopen the economy.
Right.
There's no reason for any of this stuff. Phases, data, masks. It's all baloney. Just reopen. Yeah, we saw how well that worked. Go ask Florida and Texas and Arizona how well that worked. On schools, what does he say? Reopen the schools. Just open them up. Don't worry. Yeah, he was wrong on the economic reopening. He's wrong on the schools reopening. Everybody wants to reopen the schools. I want to reopen the schools.
Oh, cool.
Everybody wants to reopen the schools. It's not do we reopen or not. You reopen if it is safe to reopen. How do you know if it's safe? You look at the data. You don't hold your finger up and feel the wind. You don't have an inspiration. You don't have a dream. You don't have an emotion. Look at the data. We test more. We have more data than any state. Look at the data. If you have the virus.
I just want to say something in the middle of this. I love when you talk about we test more than any state, because I tried to get a coronavirus test for the last 3 weeks, and every time I fill out the paperwork, because in all honesty, I want the antibody test, because what they're doing now is testing to see whether you have had it or whether you do have it. Although I have a persistent cough, I also suffer from asthma and COPD. So therefore, it could be, one irritated the other, whatever, okay? It could be a bad case of bronchitis. The bottom line is that I believe back in January, I had coronavirus. I was down for almost a month. It was a terrible, what everyone thought was a pneumonia. I just wanted the test, and I still qualified for it based on the symptoms I was having and the risk category I was in. Only instead of calling me, which was the method that I chose to schedule the test, they kept spamming me an appointment thing days later. I look for a day or two, and then nothing would come. No phone call, no email, no phone, and then boom, I'd find it in my spam folder, and it had been there for 2 days, and it times out 12 hours after they send it to you. You would think as many times as I've applied for this test that it would be important. You think they want to test me. But Cuomo swears.
Virus under control, reopen.
They test
If you
everybody. They
don't have
test
the
more than
virus under
anywhere.
control, then you can't reopen, right? We're not going to use our children as a litmus test, and we're not going to put our children in a place where their health is endangered. It's that simple. Common sense and intelligence can still determine what we do, even in this crazy environment.
All right, I'm not going to sit there and watch 7 minutes of this. So you hear where he says that we're basically, if you're in New York City is the only region in the state that's not in phase 4. So schools and regions that are in phase 4 will be able to reopen and hold in-person classes this fall. Woo, Hannah, you're going to school. As long I'm upstate, the only place that doesn't meet phase 4 record qualifications right now is NYC, and I don't know if it ever will at this point, because they're just they'll never have their shit together. They'll never. It's their leadership. Cuomo, De Blasio, God help us all. Anyway, Florida commissioner mandates all schools must reopen. So I don't know what's going on, because Florida's having a bad time right now. So what we had in New York is now hitting Florida as we speak, like in the last couple of weeks. So the fact that they are planning to go back to school, but I believe what they're doing is they're going to make smaller size classrooms. They're going to have all kinds of ways to social distance in the classroom. They're going to be doing testing at the schools. There's a lot of stuff, it says, from the sounds of it, because, well, it might not happen, because it says the teachers are planning on striking. So I guess we'll see what happens there. School openings across the world. Let's talk about that. We're the United States. We're the superpower. We should be the one that's kicked this first, right? And that's the first to show the world that schools are opening. No, it pretty much shows that we're the last. I mean, I hate to say this, but if you go through this, it shows that most of these, even third world countries, are sending their children back to some sort of in-person classroom, because they realize that the children are getting it at home. The children are getting it from family who get it. And then it just goes on, in all honesty. Hang on. Here's the epicenter of the virus. Now, you know how I feel. This was May. Well, we in New York were just getting hit. But China has never been one to be honest about the information they put out. However, this says that what back to school looks like for the epicenter of China in Wuhan. Yes, they've got plastic shields, masks, and plastic shields on the side. So this may be what our kids' class, this is a senior class with plastic partitions. They're all wearing surgical masks. I mean, I guess you have, look, here we go. They have these temperature things in the hallway, where as they walk by, it takes their temperature. Armed police officers are seen standing guard at Wuhan number 17 middle school. Elsewhere in China, schools have been closed or online since January and just gradually started opening. Beijing, Shanghai let some students return last week. So it sounds like, it sounds like schools in China are even back open. Protests in Italy. Now, Italy had a similar outbreak to what I would say happened in New York. We had a very high number of elderly deaths. Italy is a lot of elderly. Italy is highly populated with a very significant amount of elderly people. In New York, well, Cuomo sent all the COVID patients into the nursing homes to kill the elderly. So, I mean, works out to be the same, right? Italy is among a few countries, the very few, look, Italy is among the few countries in Europe to have kept schools closed after the end of the lockdown. So almost all the countries in Europe reopened as soon as their lockdown came off. So the Ministry of Education is planned to restart activities when? In September. Okay? So what I don't understand is, why is the United States, which is supposed to be at the forefront of medical invention and technology, and we are supposed to be role models for the world, here we go. Again, England, all pupils in all year groups in England will go back to school full time in September, says Secretary of Education Gavin Wilson. Why? And here, this is Italy again. I just wanted to show you that they worked hard on a plan to make sure that, because this was just this week, they had a whole lot of testings in parking lots, IKEA parking lot and whatnot, and they just random, did what South Korea did, just hit everybody hard on the testing. And so let's see here, where'd it go? There we go. I was going to say, basically, you can see that they got, if you have to, it is common to have to sign in a tablet or notebook when you arrive at a restaurant. Yeah, so basically, they're just keeping really big track and trace stuff going on there. And because of it, they're saying they've got a plan to keep the COVID spread down and open the schools back up. Basically, because of that, schools will be open in September with the staggered start times and open air classrooms when possible, with regular screening for teachers. Nightclubs and discotheques will likely remain closed, so it would be like bars and nightclubs. So we have the bars open in the United States, but the schools are closed. Think about that. Last but not least, back to school for millions in France as more COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. I hope it's not in French.
She joins us from outside a school in Paris. Catherine, you've been there for a couple of hours. The school well and truly open now. Kids and parents there happy to be back?
Yeah, the parents we saw bringing their kids to class here in the 10th arrondissement of Paris were very happy that their children were starting lessons again after 3 months of schools closure, schools time when schools haven't been open full time for all pupils. Lessons had started on a partial basis, perhaps a couple of days or hours, a week for children starting from the 11th of May. But this is the first day when 10 million French pupils aged between 3 and 16 are supposed to go back to class full time this week for the last 2 weeks of the summer term. So parents we spoke to very happy that they won't be juggling homeschooling and
no masks.
working from home anymore.
They're
and
not
also
all
concerned
walking
about the
6 feet
welfare of
apart.
their children. So they think these social link.
See that? No masks and nobody. Well, there's that. She looks like she's religious though.
So that they had with their fellow pupils, fellow classmates, very important, and the children too excited to get back and see their friends.
The only ones that are wearing
and to
masks
get
are
back
people
to
who probably are at risk from the looks of it.
as well.
So big day for parents, big day for the children, as you say. What about the teachers? Big day for them, but not all of them are happy about this, are they?
Oh well, it's your job.
Absolutely. I've spoken to several teachers over the past few days who have expressed concerns about the way this has been organised. They've got a lot of frustration at this. Some of them, the first time they even heard that this was going to be a possibility was when Emmanuel Macron spoke out on national television 8 days ago. They didn't even consider it to be a possibility until then. So they're frustrated that having had to put these strict hygiene measures in place when French schools reopened after coronavirus, so strict social distancing, teachers wearing masks, having 4 square meters per
Teachers wear the masks in France, not the students.
pupil. Well, all that has suddenly been overturned. So
And
now
for
the youngest children,
and 4 square meters between students.
social distancing measures have been completely scrapped. Then from starting from age 6, they're supposed to be kept now 1 meter apart, and teaching staff no longer have to wear the masks in lessons, but they do around the school building. So all this has meant quite a lot of upheaval for schools, a lot of reorganisation, a lot of...
That sounds crazy. Like those teachers that are working with 6-year-olds don't have to wear masks if they're in the classroom. Anyway, good luck to you guys, but it's your job. You're a teacher. If you are a teacher, you're a teacher. And if you have health risks that make you susceptible to coronavirus, well, then you're part of the people who have to do what you have to do to protect yourself until there's a vaccine or until another answer is out there. But because students who are at risk are going to be forced to stay home, I don't see how it's fair to continue to pay teachers to stay at home in places that are very capable of opening back up. They are at the well past stage 4, that coronavirus is no longer spreading. There doesn't seem to be any cases, and they're doing all the necessary social distancing stuff. So that's it for today, guys. I hope I answered some of your questions on where the heck our kids are going to be this fall. If you want to support my channel, again, here's my Cash App. Hit it up. Thanks a lot, and I will see you again soon.